Welcome back, folks. It's another great day here on Valiant Renegade. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Share this sucker out on the social medias. And do leave a comment before you head out today. Because this is where Hollywood comes to get put through the business and financial lens of reality. It's time. Renegade Online. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. It's been a spell, but we're back here doing our first live show in several weeks for the Renegade Nation. Now, I know there's some of you out there a little confused because some of you are watching on the main channel right now on Valiant Renegade. That's okay. That was intentional. We are broadcasting. This is the Renegade Nation channel show, but because we had not done one in several weeks, I was afraid the algorithm was going to be, let's say, slightly punitive in that regard. So in order to mitigate some of that algorithmic hellscape that is YouTube from time to time, we're going ahead and broadcasting the opening, say, 30 minutes of the show on the main channel. We will then close it down. We've already got a redirect set up. If you want to go on over to the Renegade Nation channel right now and watch it from there, all the better. That would be awesome. In fact, let me pull that up. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, make sure you get over there and subscribe. This is where we do more of the current events and political news of the day or of the week, in this case, our weekly show. And we want to try to, kind of bring that topic over to another channel. So for those of you that have not signed up, that have not subscribed yet, let me pull this up real quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. For those of you who don't know, right here, Renegade Nation is what you want to get to. And again, when we close out on the main channel, you'll be automatically directed to the simulcast live stream right over here. Now, if you're watching on X, welcome aboard. We'd love you to watch on YouTube. I love X. I'm fine with it. It's a great platform. A little frustrating when it comes to live streaming. The chat and everything over here on YouTube is much more lively, and we appreciate all of our audience members out there, no matter where they're watching from, nonetheless. That being said, we have a guest joining us tonight, and that is, of course, great Ron Coleman. Ron, how you doing, buddy?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I am doing very, very well. Been a busy last several weeks, and needless to say that this is long overdue. So glad to be back here. We got some news going on today. Plenty of topics to kind of go through. Donald Trump is, I don't know if you heard this. Donald Trump is actually taking a ride along tonight after taking over, effectively, the D.C. police, as he would put it, with National Guard troops. He's going on a ride along with him this evening. Did a little speech earlier and going out tonight. We actually have an early image of this. If you haven't seen it, it's right here. He's leaving the Capitol right now. There he goes, just running down the streets of D.C. Thank you, Grok. Grok, make Donald Trump Batman running down the streets of, it's, hey, there we go. So this ought to be fun. We're going to talk about this. I'm kind of hoping that they'll begin some live coverage of it. I have a window open, ready to go for that if it kicks off. But yeah, we Trump, I guess, has kind of had enough of the bad behavior of some members of Washington D.C.'s populace, Ron, and yeah.
I don't think it's not. He's not being personally affected by it.
No.
but I think he recognizes that this is actually a political winner. It's the only place where he can demonstrate what is possible to be done to a crime-ridden blue city
Yeah.
simply by flipping a switch. Can't do it in New York. He can't do it in Detroit. He can't do it in Chicago, but he can
Right.
do it in Washington. And it's a brilliant move. And it's also beneficial to everyone in Washington except crooks.
Yeah, it really is. And it's one of those things I was going to ask you from the legal perspective, Ron. There's something special about Washington D.C. That gives the federal government a little bit of extra power there, does it not? When it comes to governance, law and order.
A lot more extra power. I mean,
Yeah.
constitutionally, the District of Columbia is part of the federal. It's under federal control to the extent that Congress has authorized a degree of home rule. Regrettably, it has resulted in what we have today. But there's no other city like that. There's no other city that could be managed by the federal government. And as a general rule, if you're interested in federalism and you're interested in liberty and the Constitution, you wouldn't want the federal government running American cities. But Washington, D.C. has this special status because it is the capital of the United States of America. And it's a really bad look for it to look the way it does now, to be a place where people from all over the world are afraid to go out at night in our capital city, and which is also just completely out of control. But again, I really do think that that President Trump does legitimately care about this stuff, but I also think there is a bigger political point to be made, and he's making it very, very effectively.
Yeah.
Murders. How many nights in a row has it been in Washington with no murders? I just saw a tweet about.
I was going to ask you. Yeah, I saw this too. I heard somebody positing out there, and I've heard it from several places where they said that they thought it was maybe 6 or 7 days now where there hasn't been. I mean, it sounds unfathomable that we're going to sit here and we're going to celebrate that
exactly.
Nobody has been murdered in a major U.S. city, the capital of the United States, in 7 days. It's like somebody's got that little chalkboard up there on the side on the factory wall.
Exactly.
It has been this many days since the last accident, and you're just waiting for the poor guy, the foreman, to run up there with the eraser and erase the 200 and then put 0 back up because it's gonna, but this is the point. It's like, look, if New Orleans, where I'm from, if New Orleans went 7 days without a 19-year-old gangsta thug shooting a 17-year-old thug, I mean, we'd celebrate because that is the norm, unfortunately. And again, I understand where Trump is coming from. And I mean, Ron, this is going on a long time. You and I are both old enough, unfortunately, to remember way back when, 30, 40 years ago, whatever the hell it's been now. You remember the name Marion Barry?
I sure do.
I mean, good
God. The bitch set me up.
The bitch set me up. That Marion Barry. For those of you who don't know, Marion Barry is probably the most infamous mayor of Washington, D.C. in its history. Marion Barry was, he was a crackhead. And we can say that on YouTube because he was found with crack cocaine on a number of occasions. He was well known. I mean, this is not speculative. This is in fact the case. Dude was a mess. So Washington, D.C. has been an absolute dumpster fire. And look, when you are the president of the United States and you have to constantly entertain foreign dignitaries and whatnot, and everybody knows around the world that the capital of America is one of the most gang-ridden, violent, crime-ridden piles of garbage in the country. It's a little embarrassing, wouldn't you say?
It's very embarrassing. And it also, everything that can go wrong with an American city has gone wrong with Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And yet there are still people, and will always be people, who insist that it should be made a state.
Yeah.
That this city, which already suffers from the indignity of being the home of its own, not only its own federal judicial district, meaning the district court, the trial court, which, folks, even New York State only has 4 districts. Okay, now it's true that the Southern District of New York is composed of just a handful of counties in New York City, but the idea of an entire district court being dedicated to Washington, D.C., to just one city, and an entire U.S. Court of Appeals also being so it has this outsized influence, and yet it's a complete disaster, and it is one that people still think should the only people who are advocating for DC statehood are people who just want to see 2 more Democratic seats in the Senate for DC. I mean, there's really no other. Yeah, that's Felon Lawyer points out in the chat. The Central District of California is only almost just one county. Yeah, that's pretty much true also. But you get my point.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, and good on Trump for taking the initiative to do this. There have been really every president, right? I mean, whether it's Republican, Democrat, nobody has wanted to tackle this issue over the years. And Trump is finally doing it.
What's amazing, Valiant, is the way, and I really do mean amazing. Mm-hmm. He's doing things, and I don't care whether the ideas are coming from the people around him, whatever it is, he's completely breaking out of the patterns of how we solve problems.
Yeah.
The patterns of how we look at how we can improve government, how we can reduce government, how we can make government more transparent. He's completely changing, changing the paradigms all around. Mm-hmm. And the more he does it, the more enemies he makes.
Yeah, it is true. And that's the thing is the whole issue with Washington, D.C., the crime problem there. It's probably second only to Social Security in terms of the political third rail, right? And now he's actually wading into it. What's great about Trump is he's the kind of guy where he feels like, what have I got to lose? I didn't have to come to Washington, D.C. to make my millions like every other politician here has done for 100 years or more. I don't have to be in Washington, D.C. to gain influence I'm here because I actually want to do stuff. It's as simple as that. And, the fact that the man is, about 80 years old, he's in a second term. Arguably, maybe could have been his third. But, he what has he got to lose? Why not just go for it? And I think that's what he's been doing here since he got into office, to where this is a very different administration from round one, in the sense that he seemed, I think the critique that most people gave him in the first term was that he was unfortunately too trusting of the wrong people. And he got run over.
Right. I mean, look, he came from New York. He never claimed to be knowledgeable about the ways of Washington. In fact, he ran as an insider.
Yeah.
And he made the most obvious choices. If I can't trust the head of the Republican National Committee, if I can't trust the Speaker of the House, I mean, these are supposed to be the people who are going to make it all happen. And he really got screwed by a lot of people, including, of course, the people in entire departments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It really is. And, we're hopefully we're seeing the results of this tonight. And what you're seeing on the screen here is just this was a speech that he was giving to law enforcement in D.C. earlier this afternoon, just about an hour or two ago, before he was going out. You can hear. This is, oh, wait, the audio didn't get shared. Sorry about that. So this is kind of funny. I actually kind of chimed in at the right moment there. He's talking about, hey, look, they made a fake legal case against me, $500 million, and it got overturned today. That's another topic we got to go into tonight. The fraud case against Donald Trump that crazily enough was itself fraud.
It was more than a fraud. It's a terrible thing when someone commits a fraud. Do we know? Let me explain what fraud is. Fraud is a knowing misrepresentation about the true nature of something that causes another person to rely on that misrepresentation and lose out by it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a fraud is. We all know that the so-called fraud in the case of Donald Trump involved no one losing out anything. It was a travesty. And unfortunately, this important decision, which I don't want to take it for granted, but it was incomplete. They did not do what they should have done, the New York Court of Appeals, which would have been to say that this is, and the claims brought against Donald Trump, the criminal charges, were an inappropriate use of that criminal fraud statute. That's simply ridiculous. It gives them the ability to put anyone in just about any business into prison if they want to. The only reason that the news is good for Trump is that it's good for anyone to have a $500+ million criminal penalty reversed. That's never good news. But it was, it was an incomplete victory. I think these Democrat judges went as far as they could, but from what I understand, and I didn't have a chance to read the opinion before coming on today, but I've seen it from a couple of people, including Tom Fitton from maybe I put in the chat, Valiant, I think a very helpful post on X that I think people will find very elucidating if we can share it.
Yeah. Let's see. You put it in the private chat or the
private chat. Yep.
Sorry, right up at the top. So I was getting stuff set up here before I realized what that was. Okay, hang on a second. Let me pull that up. And while you're doing that, and just for everybody's edification here on this case, this was one of the weirdest, most bizarre things that I've ever seen, because we had a suit filed, or criminal charges. I mean, the state of New York went after Donald Trump for fraud, suggesting that he claimed that his net worth, the value of his properties, the value of Mar-a-Lago, the value of his assets, his holdings were, and I mean, not just a little overstated, but a lot overstated by orders of magnitude. It was so stupid that during this court case that the prosecution, Letitia James's team and all them, tried to argue effectively that Mar-a-Lago in Florida, that Trump had valued at $1 billion plus, was only worth about $20 million.
27 million.
Yeah, I mean, because what they did was they looked at all the properties. Like they actually presented this in court as a legal argument, as if this was somehow even remotely intelligent. They looked at all the properties around Mar-a-Lago and said, well, all these properties have an average of home value, assessed value of about $20-something million. The problem was the average size lot was half an acre with a house on it. Mar-a-Lago is something like, what is it, 20 or 40 acres? And with a massive complex. I'm like, it was, and of course, because it was New York, which is let's face it, it's more or less a legal shithole. And again, it's a get Trump, screw Trump at any cost, throw the law out the window, throw logic out the window, throw math out the window, throw intelligence out the window. They were playing to a jury and playing to a judge that I could make the argument personally, Valiant Renegade, I'm not going to speak for Ron here, that may have the IQ of warm salad. And that's kind of what's going on here. So let me pull up this tweet that you mentioned here. Let me just switch this and get a new window up here so we can pull that. But it was one of the most ridiculous cases. And of course, because it was in New York, it went against Trump because that was the design. And it's the very definition of the phrase lawfare, where you're going to quite literally engineer a case with little to nothing behind it. And remember, in this case, when it came to the fraud, there was no injured party here anywhere. The banks that they claim that Trump had overstated the value of his assets to were happy to work with Trump. The loans were repaid. Nobody suffered any financial damage. This was a crime without any victim at all anywhere, state or otherwise.
And the majority pointed out in throwing out the fine was that these damages were awarded on a theory of I forgot the word all of a sudden. Not expungement. Giving money back to someone who lost money. Well, everyone agrees that no one lost money. The banks, in fact, wanted to continue doing business. Not Danielle. I'm complete brain fart. But no one lost money.
Yeah, no defaults.
And the judge made it very clear that he wanted to send a message, that he wanted to deter similar conduct from others. That's not what those kind of damages are about.
Yeah.
All right. So let's read what Tom Fitton. So Tom Fitton is the head of Judicial Watch.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who always shows up with a muscle shirt, regardless of the time of year, regardless of the. But
you're not wrong.
But he's done incredible work
mm-hmm.
for Judicial Watch, and I always said that he was doing the work that used to be done by the media, investigating things, getting whatchamacallit, I'm so dumb, FOIA things and getting documents, and in any event, you want to read it? You're the voice.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. Hang on a second. I'm going to switch this. I don't know why Safari has me logged out. It's kind of making it irritating, so I'm going to pull it up here. Here we go from Tom Fitton. He says, I have carefully reviewed today's New York State Appellate decision, which, quote, unanimously derails the effort to destroy Trump's business. It is both a vindication of the real Donald Trump and an indictment of Tish James and the corrupt Judge Engoron, if I'm saying that right, and the New York judicial system. But this judicial decision is largely dishonest and political, even as it is a huge victory for Trump. And here are some of the bullet points that Tom points out. Only 2 Democratic elected justices backed the unprecedented fraud, quote, fraud verdict and politicized persecution or prosecution, pardon me. Two other Democrat elected judges, and this is on the appellate court, essentially said that the lower court judge rigged the case. I mean, yeah. That Trump's trial was unfair and called for a retrial. And in the most scathing take, Judge Friedman exposes the whole thing as a corrupt, quote, get Trump, closed quote, sham by Letitia James.
The word I was looking for, by the way, disgorgement.
Disgorgement. Thank you. Gotcha. Letitia James's ultimate goal was not market hygiene. I'm going to tell you what, that's a phrase I've never heard before, but I love it. Market hygiene.
You can use that in your next client consultation.
I know. I had one this afternoon right before I got home to do the show. James's ultimate goal was not market hygiene, but political hygiene, ending with the derailment of President Trump's political career, or at least the attempted derailment of President Trump's political career, and the destruction of his real estate assets. Outrageously, the, quote, fraud finding technically survives, even as 3 justices openly rejected it completely. Typical New York Alice in Wonderland politicized, quote, justice. No majority for fraud finding, yet liability upheld. And this is what I want you to talk about, because this is a weird appellate verdict. As a layperson, all justices agree the penalties against Trump were wildly unconstitutional. Which, again, Ron, you could probably speak to that about excessive fines and penalties. And the judiciary pretends that this is coherent. Patriots should review Judge Friedman's dissenting opinion themselves. It exposes how partisan abuse of power has warped the rule of law in New York. In the meantime, the sham case against Trump is a legal zombie that higher New York or federal courts should strike down ASAP. Ron, I honestly, I'm flabbergasted at the notion that some judges that sit the bench are far more driven by politics and activism than they are, say, the law.
It is heartbreaking to consider. I know.
Give me your thoughts on this, because this is so. What it sounds like Tom is saying here is that okay, they've vacated the penalties, the judgment, the consequence of the verdict, but it sounds to me like that they're still, oh yeah, well, we don't want to challenge the verdict of quote unquote fraud, but we're just going to eradicate the monetary penalties. What am I getting that right? What's going on here?
That is correct. I put something up to share.
Okay.
So I think it won't go up until you take yours down.
Oh, hang on a second. Pardon me. We'll fix that.
There
you go,
so
sir.
This is a page from the opinion.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and go through this. I'll be right back in 10 seconds. Go ahead.
The disgorgement, that's the word, disgorgement. So what's disgorgement? Disgorgement means you wrongfully received money. It could be wrongful profits, but if you didn't profit, it's still revenue. It's money that came your way and which you are holding on to. So as a matter of equity, we're going to disgorge, remove that which you have engorged. Well, guess what? The disgorgement and return it to those to whom it rightfully belongs. Well, the disgorgement award in this case is punitive in nature because no victims are parties to the action. The penalty seeks to deter rather than compensate, and the disgorgement will be paid exclusively to the government. That's not disgorgement because the government didn't lose the money. No one lost money.
Nobody lost the money. That was just it. That's what made this whole thing so bizarre.
In making the award, Supreme Court. So that's in New York judicial language. That if you see Supreme Court, they mean the Supreme Court of New York County, as opposed to the Supreme Court. Then that would probably mean the United States Supreme Court. But what they're saying here is, making the award, this lunatic judge used punitive and retributive language, retribution, right? Stating that it was aimed to deter wrongdoing by preventing the wrongdoer from retaining ill-gotten gains. The court described defendants' conduct as a venial sin, noting that defendants demonstrated a complete lack of contrition and remorse that is found to be almost pathological. Thus, inasmuch as the disgorgement award was clearly designed to punish the offender and is to be paid exclusively to the government rather than to victims, if any, there weren't.
Right. None were identified.
It's a fine for purposes of constitutional analysis. So the point is, it's the wrong kind of damages. And since it was a fine, we are, as opposed to being disgorgement, because disgorgement, if I lost $500 million, which happens to me, my crazy fortunes go in and out. I lose 500 million one month, another month I make 600 million. I can't even keep track of it. But if I lose 500 million because of your fraud, there's no such thing as a constitutionally excessive fine if a court orders you, it's your fraud, to give it back to me. It's not a fine. It's simply compensation. But a fine has to be fine under the Constitution.
Yeah.
And what the court said here was it violated the constitutional limitation on unreasonable fines.
Yeah, and then it begs the question, what happens to the case from here? And I kind of want to get into that, but let me do a little shopkeeping here first for us, Ron, because we got some super chats that came in for us. And then what I'm going to read these out, and then we're going to close the stream on the main channel, send everybody over to Renegade Nation, so we can, again, start feeding back into that channel. And then over the next couple of weeks, as we get back to a sense of rhythm here, we'll just be over there and on X as well. Packing Protons for 5 says, if TMNT made it into the top 10, imagine how much farther it would have gone if they actually advertised it and kept it for more than 1 week. I guess that was something on some news I missed earlier today on that one. I'll have to look that one up, Packing, but thank you for the 5. And Araxa says, insert membership gifting here, Valiant. You have some splaining to do. Literally don't. You don't. So anyone want to meet up at Crackerless Barrel? Hey, Ron, thanks for spending time with VR. Thank you, Araxis. No, I know. I don't have membership set up on the new channel yet. Maybe down the road. That's just something else I haven't wanted to get into yet. Super chats are there, and we appreciate them. Packing Proton says, for 5 as an hour ago, he thought there was an active shooter at Villanova. However, he followed up with a $2 super chat. Disregard. Apparently, there was a hoax. Well, that's good news. We don't want anybody injured. Thank you, Packing Protons. Appreciate all your support. Marcus Quintus, fire in the frickin' hole. Priceless from Grandpa. Thank you for the $2, Marcus.
All right, listen. Can you explain that to me? I don't get it. Is that from one of your movies?
It's a movie reference. Yeah. Yeah.
One of your moving pictures?
Yes.
One of the moving pictures that the old people used to watch. We used to have the piano player in the background before they had the talkies.
Are we blind? Deploy the likes, says Benjamin Loken. Yes, please smash the like button here on the Valiant Renegade channel and on the Renegade Nation channel. And if you're watching on X, please share it out and hit the thumbs up button as well. We appreciate you. Tennessee Tornado says, for 5, as a proud Tennessean, I'm less than proud of our beloved Cracker Barrel being, or our beloved cracker being bent over a barrel. FDEI. Yeah, I figured that was going to be a hot question tonight. I'll talk a little bit about that later. We'll get into that one. Archer Merchant for 5. What if, hear me out, he throws the money from the police cruiser as they tour the district, talking about DC. Now, Ron, you probably, I don't know if you get the reference there.
I absolutely do, because I actually a couple of weeks ago I was binging. I was binging on car chase videos.
Okay, but there's specificity to this one. I gotta
Okay,
tell.
all right,
Okay.
help me out.
All right, so let me pull the picture back up, because this is actually a really fun reference, and I'm 99% sure I know what Archer's talking about. This is a good callback. So let's go back to this picture. It just disappeared as soon as I said share this image. The thing went away. Why did it go away?
Because you don't know what you're doing.
I don't. I'm an idiot with a mouse and a button. Okay, well, it just went away. So we had the picture up earlier. I pulled it up on screen and poof, it just went gone. The picture of Batman. Here we go. Now I've got it. So the joke is, in the first Michael Keaton Batman movie in 1989, Jack Nicholson, who played the Joker.
Oh, okay.
He was on a big, giant, like Mardi Gras float, riding through the streets of Gotham with Prince's 1999 blasting. And he was grabbing handfuls of money, chucking it off the side to the population of Gotham.
Okay.
So it's a Batman reference. Yeah, so I love it, Archer. Yeah, that's just it. We got a great old Batman reference. Purple Sunset became a YouTube channel member. Welcome aboard, sir. Make sure you check us out on Renegade Nation, and we'll be sending everybody over there just in a minute. Campchi for 2. Can he focus on out? Good Lord. Can he focus on out of, I guess he means out of control, censorship, video game, and anime? He could. The problem with that is very, very low priority compared to the much bigger problems that are out there. I'm not saying that's not a problem, and I'm not saying he won't ever get to it. The censorship in general. But if you think Donald Trump is going to spend a lot of time dealing with, that thing specifically with video games, you're going to be disappointed. He's got much bigger fish to fry, and he's got 3 years to do it. He is going to go scorched earth for 3 years on the Highline stuff. Campchi says for 2, and MasterCard and Visa abuse power than museum. I know there's translation issues when Campchi super chats. I get what you're saying, because the payment processors are using their power to say that, we're just not going to service this anymore if you do X, Y, and Z. This has been kind of coming around for a while. I think something like that may wind up becoming an issue for, say, the Federal Trade Commission, Ron, perhaps. If you've got Visa and MasterCard trying to say...
It's not something that he's going to discuss in the White House. He has people for that.
Right, exactly. And Aaron Goldstein says, hey, only New Yorkers can crap on New York. God, I need to get out of this liberal hellhole. Praying the commie doesn't become mayor. Yeah, y'all, look, we thought New York has had some commie sons of bitches before, but holy shit, do y'all have one on the way? Good Lord. And the reality is, I mean, that idiot's going to probably get elected. Let's be honest. Mom Donnie, whatever his name is, that dude's a psycho. Good luck, New York. But you know what? The majority of your voters out there, y'all built this. This is what you wanted. This is what you got.
Well, not Aaron. Not Aaron. I'm sure he voted the right way.
No, it says the majority of voters, not all of them. But I mean, clearly the majority of voters continue to vote for more psycho socialism and low rent politics in that city. Snarky, what's up, my man? Gifted 5 Valiant Renegade channel memberships. Thank you very much, good sir. And Staccato and Goron put the Oron in moron. What a dumbass. Thank you, Staccato. I like that one. Very, very clever, good sir. Good to see you, my man. And Snarky for $20. Valiant vocalize. Oh, he's doing the alliteration thing. Okay, here we go. Snarky says, Valiant vocalize vigorously vibrant volumes of viral, visual, and vital news. Renegade, rigorous, raucous, and reverent rants of reality for the Renegade Nation regulars. Victorious vigilance and righteously ridicule the ridiculous. How about that? Thank you, Snarky. Very well played, sir. Well played. Grab a couple more here. Marcus Quintus for 5. The only thing I ever threw out of my squad car was candy while being stuck doing parades. For those of you who don't know, Marcus is a retired law enforcement officer. So he's always got a lot to say when we get to these stories. Thank you, Marcus. Swift -1 for 5. 2 things. Do the guardsmen have qualified immunity like the police in DC? What can they do? How's the Trump suing Murdoch? He had another lawsuit out there for $10 billion going. I can't speak to the lawsuit he's got against, I guess, Rupert Murdoch. But that's an interesting question about the National Guard with their policing powers and how liability is handled. Hold that thought. I tell you what, we'll answer that question. I want Ron to maybe chime in on that. Juliet for 2 British pounds sterling. She says, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much, Juliet. All right, folks, we're going to close the stream on the main channel. Head on over to Renegade Nation. You're going to get automatically redirected there if you're watching on the main Valiant Renegade channel. So no worries there. You're going to get the 10-second outro. I'm sorry. You won't get the 10-second outro. I'm simply going to unpin it right now. And 3, 2, 1, we'll see you on Renegade Nation. All right. And we are here. Okay. So, to the last question that we had, Ron, let me pull that back up. Do the National Guard that Donald Trump has deployed to patrol the streets of D.C., federal officers, federal agents, whatever, do they have qualified immunity like the police in D.C.? What's the legal goings on here?
Why would anyone think that they wouldn't?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I would think they would.
Of course,
Yeah.
they would.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean,
anyone in law enforcement has qualified immunity. That's not. Nobody would take the job if they didn't. I mean, for all the knocks we have on immunity, which is obviously comes with some problems, which is judge created and all the things. Nobody would take any job of where there's responsibility. The problem is that not only are federal employees apparently and government employees immune from civil liability, they're immune from any accountability whatsoever for the things that they do to other people. They don't get fired. They don't, their careers only seem to advance. That's the problem most of us have with this stuff.
No, it makes sense to me. And I mean, look, well, I guess let me ask you this. There's the old thing about, you can't sue the federal government. Well, I mean, you can, but what's the possibility? You see these cases where you get, all right, some gangsta is running around, disobeys police. Police have to chase him down. He's carrying a gun, fires at the cops, or runs into a crowd of people. Cops have no choice. Pop him. That's the end of that. Family wants to sue the police department for wrongful death, right? If it's a municipal police department, a local sheriff's department, could they sue, in this case, if that happened, the National Guard or the federal government? I guess maybe that's the question.
Well, you'd have to proceed to the Court of Claims, United States Court of Claims. it's just, I mean, I think mechanically, they're actually having the DC cops are still doing a lot of the hands-on law enforcement. They're being backed up, and they're having spine transplants, uh, courtesy of the military. But I don't think are they arresting anyone? I guess ICE is, but there are lawsuits against the federal government. There are ways to do it, but it's a non-issue. And the thing about the federal government is that it's bad enough that governments generally don't act as if money matters to them when it comes to liability.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the federal government is like they literally print the money, right?
Yeah, quite. Yes, indeed. To that end, there was a couple of things, and of course, there's folks out there. The left-wing news media is talking about how, well, the people of Washington, D.C. don't really want this. They don't want the federal government. They don't want the National Guard patrolling the streets. They're, putting up the same smoke screen as we would typically expect from the same people. This is kind of one of those stories here. I wanted to bring this up. And this is a news piece here from NBC Washington. D.C. mayor defends the crime stats amid a DOJ investigation. Now, this is something this is the argument here for these folks, is that crime's been going down, Ron, in Washington precipitously, in case you didn't know, before 7 days ago or whatever. A lot of people would tend to disagree with that fact, but or that alleged fact. But this is kind of the thing. You've got another, and people commented on this, and I understand it. I'm going to play this segment that they have here. Let's see. Why is the screen not scrolling over here as I share that? What happened to it? Let me make sure I've got this right. Something is. Oh, that's why.
I'm more interested in the $75 off, to tell you the truth.
Are you? I mean, yeah. Get 70. Get 70. Get 75. I see why. I had two tabs open. This is what happens when you're not a full-time YouTuber and you're desperately trying.
And you don't have a producer.
Yeah, and you're desperately trying to act like one. All right, let's go with this, because we've got. Do I even need to look? Let's just pause it right here. I know you can't see it now. I don't know what it is nowadays with all of these major blue cities that have these women. All of a sudden, we've seen so many women police chiefs everywhere. New Orleans has one now. What was it? Cincinnati, when we had that violent beating of two people by, it was a white woman and a white guy. These are just the facts of the case. And the white lady had the absolute shit beaten out of her by a bunch of black assailants in Cincinnati, allegedly because somebody said a word. Okay. And then we saw another female police chief there trying to say that the media shouldn't talk about this because they're making it more into what it is. But we all saw the video. Right. We have, I don't know where we got. It's another one of these it happened overnight situations where all of a sudden we had all of these female police chiefs pop up out of the clear blue sky. I mean, it just has that. We have one here in Washington, D.C. now. So I'm gonna play this, and we can listen to it. This is
how about that girl fire chief in L.A.?
Oh yeah, that one too.
Who you want to have on the job?
Yeah, I know. We have the female, Karen Bass, mayor of Los Angeles, who basically had zero qualification or skill to run a city, let alone one of that size. I think one of the police chiefs, I can't remember even which one it was. Maybe it's one from DC, maybe it was one from Cincinnati, where her previous position, I've got to go back and see which one it was. I just read this a couple of weeks ago, but I can't remember which. Her previous position with the department was head of DEI. I'm not even kidding. That's not a joke. She was the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion to police chief. This is the problem. So there's been some debate on what's really the crime out there in DC. Here's the story from Washington, NBC4.
Crime statistics in DC. Some argue what DC police report is accurate. Others say the violence is much worse than what the numbers say. News 4's Paul Wagner is joining us live outside of the U.S. Attorney's Office. Paul, a couple weeks ago, you broke this major story that even President Trump has mentioned, essentially a D.C. police commander suspended for allegedly changing the crime stats in his district. Today, we learned the Justice Department is getting involved in all of this, yes?
Yeah, and the chief and Mayor Bowser both.
And look, I just want to say this real quick before we proceed further with this video. This is a story. Changing crime statistics or taking creative liberties with classifying suspects, convicts, people who are arrested, whatever. This is not limited to Washington, D.C. I assure you. Every major blue city, I've seen stories out there with a similar situation where certain aspects of crime or suspects themselves have been creatively interpreted. I'll leave it there. So just throwing that out.
Confirmed it today, Joseph, saying that they're going to cooperate with the investigation and answer all their questions. This is an investigation into whether DC police supervisors may have been involved in manipulating crime stats here in the district. And the U.S. Attorney's Office here behind me is going to lead that investigation. And it's an investigation so far the U.S. Attorney, Janine Pirro, has refused to comment on or confirm. Chief of Police Pamela Smith said today she has so far not heard from the Department of Justice as prosecutors begin a probe into whether officials in her department have been manipulating crime stats. But she says she expects to hear from them soon.
I'm like, I wish it wouldn't darken when I do this, but I mean, can we just look on the screen? Like, what is the, I don't want to misgender anybody. I really don't.
I have not been contacted, but I am
Pat.
aware that
I want it. Yeah. Saturday Night Live reference right there. Julia Sweeney.
Fairly old one.
Yeah. It's time for androgyny. Here comes Pat. Dun, dun, dun. I remember that one. And I'm not even talking about the chief.
there may be or will.
But you got to wonder, like, what is I don't know what's standing behind them in the blue jacket.
That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one.
I don't want to misgender anybody.
Be subpoenas issued. I don't know to whom.
By the way, the lady in the blue jacket, whatever top thing, that's the mayor of DC. Just so everybody knows who everybody is on the screen.
But that's all I know at this point.
The chief also confirmed the investigation into Commander Michael Pulliam and whether he manipulated leaders began.
I'm going to back it up a little bit so you can hear that.
Today, she has so far not heard from the Department of Justice as prosecutors begin a probe into whether officials in her department have been manipulating crime stats. But she says she expects to hear from them soon.
I have not been contacted, but I am aware that there may be or will be subpoenas issued. I don't know to whom, but that's all I know at this point.
The chief.
Ron, would you like to take a guess if they issue subpoenas, who some of them might go to?
Well, I would imagine it would be some of the people who we saw standing in front of that microphone.
I think you might be right.
Also confirmed the investigation into Commander Michael Pulliam and whether he manipulated crime stats in his district is still ongoing. Pulliam was placed on administrative leave with pay in May.
She's a 4-star general.
In mid-July, News 4 reported Pulliam was under investigation along with allegations from the DC Police Union that changing crime stats was common in the department and done to make it appear violent crime had fallen considerably. Today, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser defended the numbers.
We know that crime has gone down in our city, and it has gone down precipitously over the last 2 years because of a lot of hard work, changes to our public safety ecosystem, including changes to the law. And we
Ooh, wait, changes to the law. Ron, I think you're a lawyer. Can I, in a place like Washington, D.C., you know, when I hear things, crime statistics went down because we had changes to the law. This is a very deep blue run city. Part of me wonders if the reason that crime statistics went down is that in a place like D.C., run by the folks who run it, Democrats, could they have maybe decriminalized a lot of stuff?
Yes, they could have. They could have, and they clearly did.
Oh, that must be it. Can we also acknowledge the fact that her name is Bowser, and I would really like for any moment right now. Okay, chat. There's some very talented people out there in the Renegade Nation. I need you to take Mayor Bowser here. Do I even need to explain what you need to do? I know there's people in this audience already know what I'm going to say. I need you to take Mayor Bowser, and we need Mario jumping across the screen, smashing her on the head, and, you know, come up with something because it's Bowser. Ron might not get that reference.
Well, I understand that there's a video game concept here. I'm thinking of Sha-Na-Na.
God, pull up Sha-Na-Na.
you know that those facts don't comport to what some people are saying.
In that
wait, what?
The numbers.
We know that crime has gone down in our city, and it has gone down precipitously over the last 2 years because of a lot of hard work.
Precipitously.
Changes
It's
to
frightening.
public
I mean,
safety
we haven't known
ecosystem.
it's like we're falling out of a building.
Yeah, it's so good. You know, here's the other thing, though, Ron, and I bet a lot of people in the chat know this, too. A lot of Democrat mayors have taken the opportunity to claim that they have made, and we have the same thing here in New Orleans with LaToilette, who is now under federal indictment, by the way. LaToilette Cantrell, who most people don't even know. She's not even from New Orleans. She was a George Soros California implant to New Orleans to become the mayor here. Just like Jason Williams, our absolute worthless piece of shit district attorney. But what's interesting is that a lot of these mayors, and again, this has been the, you know, modus operandi for the last several years. They took, you know, crime was already really, 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 really bad. But then in 2020 and 2021 with COVID, it peaked even worse, right? So now they go back and say, well, shoot, you know, in 22 and 23 and 24, crime came down. It's only now just as bad or worse than it was in 2019, but it's down from COVID, right? They're treating this as it went down. When, you know, when you take the blip out of the statistical spectrum, it's meaningless. Crime actually hasn't gone down. And I hear this all the time from these mayors. Same thing over and over.
Today, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser defended the numbers.
We know that crime has gone down in our city, and it has gone down precipitously over the last 2 years because of a lot of hard work, changes to our public safety ecosystem, including changes to the law. And we know that those facts
Imagine admitting
don't
that.
comport to
She's
what
so
some people are saying.
slow
In that same story,
that she thinks that that's something you actually admit to. When the law, in the middle of your high concept lie. Well, listen, we changed the law, right? So You know it's going to go down.
Right. It's like, well, Ron, let me ask you, what else could that mean, right? You changed the law and crime went down. We know that. What did you change? Right? Isn't that the question? Did the law did you suddenly start deciding, you know what? We think that the whole comic book concept of Judge Dredd was a great idea. And we're going to have judges on the street with, giant machine guns that will both, they're going to arrest suspects and dispense justice right there. ISO cubes, bullets in the head, whatever, right there on the street. They hold a trial. That's what Judge Dredd is, Ron, if you didn't know. I know the chat knows who this is.
Judge Dredd,
Yeah.
that's really, I think that goes back to my day.
Oh, yeah. The character of Judge Dredd has been around a long time. In fact, great movie in 97 starring Sylvester Stallone was very comic booky, like that version. There was a phenomenal version in about 10, 15 years ago now starring Carl Urban that was much more gritty. That was also brilliant. But yeah, I'm like, what law changed in D.C. to afford the crime stats suddenly going down? Typically, I would think, Ron, that would you not associate that with that we stiffened penalties to the point where it put the fear of God into people, or we tripled the size of law enforcement and we stopped putting handcuffs on police officers instead of suspects and let them do their job? I mean, has any of that happened, Ron, in D.C.?
Well, I'm not. Look, there is statistics are things that are easy to lie with. For me to say everyone knows that crime in DC has been a disaster, is not particularly meaningful because I'm going on anecdotal evidence. There doesn't seem to be anyone outside of the political class that has a problem, including I saw an interview with a former DC police chief, a former one, saying this is a great idea. We really, the police department really needs help here. But it's not the police department; it's the management. I mean, I think this comes down to a really important question of what do you do if you're a cop, Marcus? What do you do if you're a cop?
Yeah.
And you're told that your job now is to let people riot. And your job now is to arrest people for self-defense. And your job now is to never arrest people for so-called, for mere property crimes.
Yeah.
And you want to keep your job, and you went into law enforcement, and you want to keep your pension. What do? Marcus says, I walk away.
Right. Exactly. And that's the problem. How can you continue to put police officers in the position where you tell them either directly or indirectly that you are, to one degree or another, not allowed to do your job? And that's what it boils down to. I mean, the Baltimore during the George Floyd riots, right? Baltimore, a black female mayor of that city told the police to just let them get it out, or whatever she said. But it was along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but not by much. I mean, it was just let them get it out. Let them cause $1 billion in property damage. Let them burn their own neighborhoods down. Let them destroy black business owners in their own neighborhoods, burning their stores. Washington, D.C. has had a similar mindset for some time, as have many other cities. I mean, shit, back in 2005, I've told the story on YouTube before. I mean, as somebody who's from New Orleans, Katrina was a nightmare. And when we had, by the way, we're now about to have the second mayor in the last 20 years from the city of New Orleans wind up in prison. The first one, Renegade, back then, who came out a few days after Katrina talking about how he had ordered the New Orleans police to literally confiscate firearms from legal gun owners.
Yeah.
You know, go house to house. I mean, he tried to do this. I mean, it was the most insane thing in the history of insanity, because you had whatever human trash was left in the city trying to run around and break into people's houses, whether they were alive or dead. And many of them were dead in their own houses at that point. They had drowned, trapped in their homes. You know, but the people who were still living and breathing, trying to fend off the worst elements of New Orleans from stealing whatever they had left.
How do you justify that level of contempt for the people you're supposed to protect and serve? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
But according to some of these mayors out there, let's be honest. Unfortunately, I mean, their politics ends at the waters of racial politics, you know, and that's New Orleans is like it. It sucks. There's a lot of other major cities out there that are like that. And I mean, Washington, D.C.'s no different. Let me grab these super chats that came in. Doc Hollywood, it's good to see you, my friend. For $50, you got a second name. You got Doc
I'm making
Hollywood
you money. I'm
66
making
now.
you money.
There you go. Well, you're making some money from this. By the way, you know, Ron's a co-host of this show. So you know what? You're helping us both out. You sharing this show. We're going to do the Renegade Nation the week. We might come up with a different name. I had to come up with something here for this one. But this is going to be a regular thing with Ron and I. So you know what? This is you know, the super chats for this show are helping us both out. It's also no thing. It's all the family. It's the family. Doc Hollywood for $50. It's always nice to have the great Ron Coleman on the Renegade Nation to make sense of the insanity that is New York and DC. Indeed, indeed.
You know, I was in Washington just last week, as a matter of fact. And I was in New York. I'm in New York all the time. I'm looking out the window at it. I'll tell you one thing about DC that's interesting. It's the last place in America you can go to and see people going into and out of their offices dressed like adults. In the government, people still wear ties.
You know what?
And you have to, you know, except of course one of the senators from
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
But
sweatshirt and gym shorts, bro. That was
mind-boggling.
Oh. It's okay. He had a stroke.
Yeah, well, he is probably. Here's the thing with thing. He
Fetterman's crazy. I mean,
he often says things that no other Democrat will say, but he votes with the Democrats every single time.
Yeah, I think so. Almost 100%, if not 100%. Snarky for $50. Ron Coleman for U.S. Attorney General. We appreciate you. Thank you, Snarky. Look, and I know a lot of people have some qualms with Pam Bondi. And is she perfect? No. Is anybody perfect? No. But I love the fact that she is going after the lawfare. She is going after the really big stuff. I mean, the real problems with what we'd all call the deep state for years. I'm going to give Pam Bondi credit where credit is due. And yes, I know, we all know, the whole Epstein situation was handled terribly.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's one of those things to where I hate it. I don't like it. But if I can have an attorney general in there that is going to beat the crap out of the deep state and go after these rogue judges, these rogue district attorneys, and everything else, That is the real, in my opinion, long-term problem. I mean, that's priority number one. I'll take it. And I know I realize not everybody's going to agree with me on that, but I mean, nothing's perfect, but I don't know. Ron, you got some thoughts on that one?
I've actually taken the same position. I mean, there have been some disappointments, and I don't quite understand what's going on in the FBI. I will say, and I just got tired of saying this on X.
Yeah.
People who are impatient for arrests. Where are the arrests? Where are the arrests?
Yeah.
This is something you have to simply have patience for.
Yeah.
I'm not saying trust the plan. I'm telling you that doing a criminal investigation properly, especially when it involves law enforcement and the agency itself and people at very high levels, and up to and including the president and the ex-president, former president of the United States, you don't go to court with that stuff until you've absolutely got it sealed up. Absolutely sealed up.
That's
so that's
it.
not going to. But people who don't have a sufficient appreciation for how effective people do not have a sufficient appreciation, other than you and I and a couple of other people, including everyone in the chat who's brilliant and handsome and lovely, I should add. Just how effective Pam Bondi has been in managing the litigation. All that lawfare that is being too slowly, yes, but that is the way it works in my bag, guys. Slowly peeling back all this nonsense. I mean, the real failure here is with the Supreme Court. I mean, they're eventually coming around and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But they've waited too long on a lot of things. A lot of the damage is done, et cetera, all stuff that you've heard. Marcus Quintus, you're right. Never ask a question in court unless you already know the answers.
Yep. And actually, I clicked on this. What's up, Flash? Good to see Yellow Flash here.
Tell me about Yellow Flash.
Is that, I don't know. I'm guessing, I'm going to assume that Yellow Flash production is actually Flash. Maybe not. I haven't seen that name before, or maybe he's on a different account. I clicked on that by accident. And I was like, is that Flash or is that somebody posing as Flash? So he's usually, when he shows up in the chat, it's usually, his own thing. But oh no, it is. He's got the check mark. I'm looking over here. Hang on. I'm looking in StreamYard. Yep. It is. It's him, because he's got the check mark in chat. It's him. It's Flash. What's up, dude? Sorry I didn't make it Saturday. My daughter has been in town for like 3 or 4 days. She just left last night. I'm like, dude, Flash is great. Flash has got young kids. Flash does not understand once they get older yet. He will one day. I've got a 20-year-old that's a junior in college, an 18-year-old that's a senior in high school, and a 14-year-old son, Renegade Jr., who many of y'all know, that just started high school. It's dude, it's different. It's just, enjoy it, Flash. I love you, brother. Enjoy it while you can, bro. Enjoy those young years, because when they become teenagers, y'all know me. Y'all know that I am a Second Amendment man. The amount of restraint it takes not to actually employ sometimes with your damn teenage kids. And I mean, I've had conversation with my teenage kids. I'm like, you know how many guns I own, right? I love my kids, but damn it. Oh, Lord. So anyway, thank you guys for the super chats. Let me give you a little something fun for you. We haven't done that. I meant to play this at the outset of the show, because we're talking about, what am I going to play?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, I got a couple of them.
Yes.
Let me start out by saying this. If I offend anybody today, I don't give a shit.
Like that.
I did not expect that one.
I got this too.
I've got a lot of friends who are Democrats, and they haven't asked me for advice, but if I did, I'd tell them, look, you just got to try harder not to suck.
We love us some John Kennedy down here in Louisiana. He lives about 10 minutes away from me. I've been a while since I've seen Johnny, but I mean, I first met him long before he became a U.S. Senator. He really is. What you see on TV, that's him. That really is him.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't really think you can fake in. I don't really think you can fake that kind of personality.
No,
he does seem to be the real deal.
People tell me like, oh, it's bullcrap. He went to Harvard. He has a degree from economics at Harvard. And I'm like, but he's from Louisiana, dude. That's
no matter what.
That's really John. He's a brilliant man. I mean, that man is sharp as a tack. A lot of people think it's just an act. I'm like, no, that's really him. That's really, really him. All right. I want to finish playing this because I know we got sidetracked. This has been fun, open conversation here. I want to finish playing this one here.
Okay.
Back to the DC thing. Basically, and again, this is the mayor and the police chief, and it's a lot of everybody running the city now. It looks like they're black women running the city. And let's be honest, they're probably none too happy that a white, straight Republican man is coming in to the city and telling a bunch of black lesbian WNBA wannabes how to do their jobs because they're not good at it.
The police union told News 4 they have been for months conducting their own investigation and collecting police reports they view as dubious. The mayor also said today she had met with officers and federal officials last night in the 7th District.
We did a lot of listening about concerns that they have about policing and making sure that they have the tools that they need to do their job. With regard to a short pull aside that we had with the federal officials, I would just say that we discuss shared priorities.
At the same time, Chief Smith said she has a good working relationship with the federal official put in charge by President Trump.
My relationship with Terry Cole has been very, very congenial. It's been very collaborative. He has actually asked me about different ways in which we can collaborate and have resources around the city. It is not contentious at all.
Posting to X, the Attorney General says 550 arrests have been made since the crime emergency was declared by the president, but there is no clarity as to how many of those arrests are for crimes or immigration violations.
Wait a minute. Stop. First of all, can I say that the police chief, she's like, he likes me. Everybody likes me. The relationship's very congenial. Nothing. She sounds very defensive, Ron, if I'm not mistaken. I love the next line. It's unclear how many of the 500 arrests are for crimes or immigration violations. Motherfucker, that's a crime. It's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, what is the delineation here? I'm like, they're both crimes, Ron.
Well, there is a delineation because in Washington, D.C., they won't arrest you. and they won't honor a detainer because until it was removed last week, Washington, D.C. was a sanctuary city.
Sanctuary, yes. Thank you, Quasimodo. It's basically what it is. Sanctuary. You could be in the new Disney remake, Ron. I'm sorry. Again, this is NBC Washington. That's reporting. And again, that phrase right there seems to bring home the entire problem of their view of what crime is, right? The sanctuary city stuff, everything else, it's unclear because an immigration violation. That's really a crime. With that, that's not a big
It's a
deal,
violation. It's like getting a ticket.
right? How many? Let me ask you this, Ron. Since Donald Trump and the DOJ and Pam Bondi, who they just had up on the screen, and all these, they're investigating this right now, right? And they're alleging that there has been a deliberate misclassification of crime statistic reporting, ostensibly with the intent of misleading the public on where crime is going. I would have to assume that part of the logic, perhaps, behind saying, are these actual crimes that they're arresting these 500 people for? Or are they immigration violations? Because perhaps, Ron, could we maybe assume that some of the actual crimes that are being committed are maybe being classified as just simply immigration violations? Hey, an illegal immigrant mugged a chick, stole her purse, and ran off. Oh, well, it's not really a crime. You see, it's just simply an immigration visa violation.
Well, there does. Well, I mean, first of all, those are not Washington's business at all.
Yeah.
DC. I mean, they don't enforce the immigration law.
Oh, wait, Ron, I'm confused. I've been told by Gavin Newsom that the federal government has no business enforcing immigration. Is he wrong?
I don't think it's a matter of wrong.
And I was being deceived.
I think it's a matter of lying.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. It's yeah.
Keep in mind, remember, we had this judge, right, who was arrested by the federal government because she was hiding an illegal immigrant.
Mhm.
I mean, she
Oh God, yes.
walked out the back door, and that whole rigmarole you went through. Everyone who knows that story. You just really kind of hit on something, Valiant. She seemed to believe that none of his crimes were relevant because by virtue of being, it's like that scene from Family Guy. Please, no, what was it again? Oh, no pornography in the bar here. Oh no, I'm trans. Oh, please, no, then do whatever you want. It's the same thing if you're an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
You like crimes simply don't matter. It's not even, and the worst, and then we say that if you did commit a crime, well, then that gives us that might be a basis for you to be deported, as opposed to everyone who's an illegal immigrant should be deported. And if you do a crime, you should actually be prosecuted, regardless of the fact that you are an illegal immigrant. This sounds like really baby stuff, but the mentality among these people, and this was a female judge. I mean, these female professionals and people in government. It's not a strict rule. I mean, there's some really excellent people, certainly on the bench, there are some really good female judges. And also
without question,
the police girl in Reacher, you know what Jack said. She can take care of herself, right? So
Yep.
And I see in all your Disney pictures, these girls
the TV, the Reacher TV show or the movies?
The TV show.
Okay. TV show's good.
It's just old Tom. It's all little Tom.
Wasn't Colby Smulders in one of them? I think they had the same characters. I think in the movies, or maybe I'm trying to remember who was the chick.
I thought that was old. What's his Tom?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, he's good.
The two Jack Reacher movies were great. Yeah, I liked them. No, I think you're right. Look, here's the thing, right? And I've always been a fan of the saying that immigration without assimilation is invasion. That's it. It's you can have people come in to the country. We are a country of immigrants. That's how this country was created. There's no question about that. But what people seem to forget, right? And so, oh, we brought in immigrants from all over the place in, 1900, 1910, and 1920. Yeah, that's all true. But the people who came over here, they had a desire to leave their world behind, come over here, set up a new life, become part of the American melting pot. But I think as Teddy Roosevelt put it, he's the one I believe who coined the phrase "the melting pot," is that when they come here, they melt into the culture. I'm paraphrasing, but they become wholly American. And that's just it. When you have people who want to come here to basically fleece the system, right? They want to come here not because they have a skill, a talent, and they want to have a better economic environment with which to exploit their skill and talent, but they want to come here because
they want to be one of us. They
Right.
want to be one of us. They want
That's
to
it.
join our nation. And people have a lot of trouble with the concept of a nation, because a nation is not the same thing as a state.
Yes.
That's why there's something called national conservatism. It's to remind people that nations are frequently defined by state boundaries, but the American nation is a people who share certain values
Mhm.
as well as borders. It's not just we happen to live here. Yes,
Mhm.
pluralism means that we conduct ourselves in ways that are unique to us. You can be an Orthodox Jew, you can be Catholic, you can do things that in the old country it was not possible to do together in one nation. But
Yeah.
you got to sign off on being an American.
Yep.
You got to sign off on being an American and respecting our institutions and our Constitution and our history and our values. You don't have to agree with them. You can be you can be a natural born citizen, or you can be, you can even be, although I think it's uniquely ungracious to be a naturalized citizen and then become a communist. I think that's not a good thing, but we do permit it. Our law permits it. Our
Mhm.
Constitution permits it. Although, there are questions. I mean, there is a requirement when you become a citizen to pledge your loyalty to the United States Constitution.
Well, that's just
So-
it. And communism to that end, socialism to that end, it's completely antithetical to why you would have come here, right? And I mean, this is why, we Florida, South Florida, Miami. Why did Miami-Dade County for the first time in, I don't know, forever, go red in 24? Cubans, Cuban Americans, right? And there you go. I know you got some Cuban blood in there. That's
Yeah,
it.
it's not really Cuban blood, but my mother was born, folks, if you're not familiar from earlier shows when I would tease the Mexican Iron Man about also being a Latino.
Yeah.
My mother was born and raised in Cuba. She came here as a teenager when Castro was in the process of taking that country over. Her parents were immigrants from Poland, but I do know the Cuban community in South Florida, and they've always been rather conservative.
Mhm.
And
I wonder why.
Yeah, right. You would think.
That's the point. It's like the Latino immigrants that have come here from Cuba, especially. They don't come here and go, "Oh yeah, we're going to vote Democrat." They see what the Democrats are doing. They're like, dude, we got on a fucking raft and paddled across the Gulf of America to get to Key Largo, right? To get away from this commie socialist bullshit. You really think we're going to land here in Southern Florida and vote for a white version of Castro? You really think we're going to vote for Justin Trudeau? I'm sorry, I had to do it. The white Castro. No, they're not. I mean, they're that's the difference, right? The people that want to come here and no, we're coming here because we want to be Americans. We're gonna support ourselves. I'm all for it, dude. This is a country of immigrants. What it is not is a country of illegal invaders. That is not going to happen. That's never going to be the case. And the problem is with all of these DEI mayors and DEI police chiefs around there. And look, people want to get angry when you use the phrase or the term DEI in this situation. Well, it's just, that's your way of saying the N-word. No, it really isn't. It really isn't. When we say that you have a DEI this or that, we refer to white people, like white women or white gay men, as DEI hires and DEI inserts, because that's what they are. Because diversity, equity, and inclusion, according to Hollywood, according to companies like Disney, their own annual shareholder meetings, their own annual reports that they put out, their definition, and this is the official liberal, Democrat, socialist, Marxist definition of DEI, is anybody who is not white, male, heterosexual. That's it. So technically, DEI is anything but guys like me and Ron, right? And a lot of people in this audience, I suspect, too. So the point is that when we say like the DEI hires, look, the old white woman police chief, Ann Frischhertz. I don't remember what the hell her last name is. The old white lady police chief of the city of New Orleans right now, who you look like she should be in a kitchen baking cookies and apple pie. I swear to God. She is 80 pounds soaking wet and 5 foot tall in heels if she's lucky. She is the police chief of one of the most violently horrific cities in the United States. She is unequivocally a DEI hire. She ain't black. So you can be black, you can be white, you could be whatever, and still be a DEI hire. But we see this consistently throughout the country. And it usually goes back to these, like, how did a black woman from California get to be the mayor of New Orleans? Nobody can figure it out. But what everybody does know is that it involved a shitload of money coming from God knows where. We know where. And getting pumped in to the local political economy and making it happen. Same thing with the district attorney here. Same thing with a lot of district attorneys in other places, including Washington, D.C., where it doesn't matter what the police do in places like Washington, D.C., Ron, right? Because what happens? The police can kill themselves trying to make the city safer, figuratively. And then a district attorney decides to use diversity, equity, and inclusion as the political zeitgeist, the phantom in the room, to, you know what, let him out. Or a judge, let him out. We don't want to prosecute him. What do they say, Ron? We changed the laws. How many times have we seen this, Ron? Where you actually employ social justice instead of actual justice.
But if they change the laws, that's actually a million times better than when attorneys general of states or local attorneys general, prosecutors announce here are the laws we're not going to enforce anymore. That's not their prerogative.
Yeah.
Prosecutorial discretion is meant to be a way to get the job done. It's impossible to be a prosecutor without exercising discretion. You're making judgment calls, and sometimes it's appropriate to plead, and sometimes it's appropriate not to prosecute. But the idea that a prosecutor has the prerogative to announce, I'm not going to enforce a certain category of laws that are on the books, that were made by a legislature and passed into law, is an entirely new thing. And the idea that it has been accepted to the extent that it has as a cultural and political option is really a gigantic constitutional and civic problem that really undermines law and order in our country.
Especially if the statutes that they should be enforcing are, I mean, at least with short of any challenge, seemingly constitutional and within the purview, right? So, I mean, for example, if the police department said, the mayor of the city, just as we made the example earlier, issued a mayoral executive order to confiscate legally owned firearms from private citizens, and the police force said, we're not doing that, right? That's one thing. Versus, the legislature of a state that properly exercised its authority under, say, the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, if I'm not mistaken, Ron. Hey, if we didn't give it to the federal government, it's reserved for the people in the states, respectively. Criminal law, things like that. Police departments and district attorneys that just suddenly decide that, okay, well, we've got them on body cam. We have Ring doorbell footage. We have 50 witness statements that all said he shot this guy. But, we're going to classify this as a different crime in Washington, D.C., and maybe not prosecute him as harshly because we already have too many 19-year-old black men in prison. And y'all think I'm being funny. I'm not. That's kind of literally how it goes in this country right now in blue cities. This is how diversity, equity, and inclusion is applied towards prosecutorial discretion, right? It's not a matter of justice. It's a matter of racial equity. This is what Trump said. Hey, I've got the power in Washington, D.C., vested by the Constitution. I'm going to freaking use it.
And D.C. is becoming a laboratory.
Yeah.
To demonstrate. And, you hear the usual complaints. The military is not trained for this. It's dictatorial. It's militaristic.
Yep.
It is a way to solve a problem that the city won't solve itself. And again, you can, if you rely on that justification for too much, then you lose your liberty. And I remember during the COVID cases, Justice Sotomayor, like her idea of constitutional analysis was, but it's an emergency, isn't it? Isn't that something that we really have to do because it's an emergency? No. The Constitution is meant not only to also apply in emergencies, but especially in emergencies, because that's when your liberty is most at risk. But as we said at the beginning of the program, when it comes to Washington, D.C., it is a federal operation.
Yeah.
And there is a national interest in that city not being the kind of nightmare that other American cities have allowed themselves to become.
Yes, and that's the key, right? And I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing when you said Sotomayor and you're bringing up something stupid she said. Because
I didn't think you were laughing at me.
There was a litany of stupid things. I'm going to tell you, Ron, the first The first time I ever heard Sonia Sotomayor was her confirmation hearings. And I was watching this, however many years ago it was now. And I don't remember the question. I just remember the response, because it was so outrageously retarded that it begged the question of, who went out and found this woman, and how did she even become a judge? She was asked, there was some, I believe, I'd have to go back and search it. There was a quote unquote litmus test question that was posed to her during Senate Judiciary questioning for her confirming. And her answer during this was that, well, I think we need to look to international law to answer. I mean, the answer for her question was not, what is the Constitution? What's in the Constitution? What is the rule of law? What is this? What is that? It was, I think it would be a good idea to actually look to international law on certain. I'm like, bitch, do you even know what the job that you're up for entails? It's like,
She didn't make that up. That was Breyer's fetish.
yes, Stephen
She learned that
Breyer.
from Breyer.
Yep.
Whose brother is still doing great harm in the district court in California.
Yep.
And
One of the Stephen Breyer, United States, for those of y'all watching, Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer's brother is a federal judge out in California. He's one of the guys that has been trying to, every opportunity that he's presented to take a pee on Donald Trump's efforts. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's not very good.
No. I'll say she's not very smart. I don't know who has the lower IQ that's closer to warm salad, if it's her or Ketanji Brown Jackson, but holy shit.
I think that Justice Jackson, in fact, is smarter, and that she is emblematic. Again, another decision came out today for the Supreme Court where she was, as people are saying, writing for herself. She's now alone. She's not getting cover from the other members of the View caucus.
Yeah.
But Brown is ideologically captured. Now, Kagan might be one of the smartest people on that court, but she will vote. Kagan knows she's wrong, but she will vote ideologically every time.
I agree with that.
Sotomayor, I don't know how much she knows.
Sonia Sotomayor seems like she's always lost. And look, let me tell you what. When I see Supreme Court rulings come out as a layperson, and I see that Sonia Sotomayor has written the dissenting opinion, I get excited because I know it's going to be one of the funniest things I read all day or all week or all year. I think you're right with Kagan. Kagan, I think politically, in terms of political intelligence, I think she's an idiot. I disagree with, but I agree with what you said. I think to an extent she knows she's wrong, but she's going to dissent anyway because that's what she was put in there to do. She was there to be a political activist, but she doesn't strike me as being like some of the things I've seen Ketanji Brown and Sotomayor write in dissenting opinions or opinions in general have just been so bereft of logic and so bereft of legal precedence and rule of law. It begs disbelief that 100 people in the Senate voted on these individuals and said, approved. It's like, but hey, we all know the Senate is just as much a political animal in many cases. So, yeah. Thank you guys for the super chats, for those two $50 super chats. I'm going to give y'all something special here. I need a quick second. Everybody loves the Who Dis stuff. We love to make fun of Disney and the woke branding. We'll talk about Cracker Barrel probably on the Sunday show. I know we don't have time tonight. I have one last story that we want to get to, something quick to talk about. Take a little break here. Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Remember when the children would gather around the TV to watch Disney Plus? Mom and Dad would watch Hulu. Well, now, all of that's going away. From the company who's brought you so many bad ideas like Disney Star Wars and post-in-game Marvel, the Walt Disney Company will now bring you a new streaming service. But don't worry, we'll still have all your favorites, and we'll still have great programming even for the modern audience. Coming in 2026, like a long-lost friend on the other end of the telephone line.
Who dis?
That's right, Disney's new streaming service, because we simply can't hide the billions of dollars of losses on Disney Plus by itself anymore.
And there we have it.
I crack up every time. I'm a sucker.
I love that one. I'm so proud of myself. I wish I had more time. I was going to put some more B-roll footage in. I got to get back to it. And yes, I've got to sit down. I have to block out time in the next couple of weeks, and I'm gonna cut a new 5-minute countdown timer for Renegade Nation. I've not had time, but I've got to get on that. Use the base and then recut some things here. We have got another very generous super chat here from Doc Hollywood for $50. I know this is way off topic, but I'm curious, he says. I know this is a side gig for you, and having a merch shop might be a little bit outside your wheelhouse, but I would love to have a Valiant Renegade logo t-shirt. Doc, we actually got them. I haven't stumped it in a while, and I need to. So if you go to, let me get the link real quick. We've got them out there. I've got to do some new stuff. I'm going to do some Renegade Nation stuff too. Rick Herrera has got them. And a lot of other folks. I've actually signed them. I've got to find the link. We have it. I think I have the link. Actually, if you look on the Valiant Renegade channel page, Doc, I think we have a link there. It's over at it was Mixed Teas. Let me find it real quick. Oh, they changed. Okay, the domain changed up a little bit. I'm pasting it into the chat right now, and this is actually a website. This business is run by some good friends and fellow YouTubers of ours. Okay, over at the Pop Culture Brothers, and let me.
I'd like to open up a merch shop. Should I use these guys?
Yeah, they pick and choose. It's not like YouTube where they just take anybody. But
Okay.
I think Ron, I think we can get you in. I think we can get you in. I think we can get you in. I will talk to them. They do.
It's surprising how many people would buy Ron Coleman merch because
look, I was surprised when I was like, people wanted Valiant merch, and I'm like, really? Okay, cool. So here it is. Here it is, Doc. We got it out there. All my stuff is there. In fact, my coffee mugs. I'm stupid because I don't think to market this more. But we've got the mouse pad. We've got the T-shirt, and I've actually I had people wearing the T-shirt 2 years ago at MegaCon in Orlando. and somebody was wearing the big Valiant Renegade logo T-shirt right there, and they were walking up to meet Will, critical drinker, and I'm like, I jumped in between him and drinker with a silver Sharpie. I said, "Hey, you want me to sign that T-shirt?" I wish somebody in video. It was great. The coffee mug is my favorite. And then we've got my custom Make Disney Great Again shirt. This was one of my favorite things. I designed this. I did this and then sent it over to the boys over there at Mixed Tees. And the Make Disney Great Again, the MDGA shirt. I really love that one. I've got a few of these at home. I've got stuff I still need to hand out. But this is all out there. Now, we were supposed to do a hat. And I just got to circle back. Like I said, if I did YouTube full time, I'd be all over this. Jeremy thinks he's not a YouTuber and he sucks at his job. Jeremy's a much better YouTuber than me because this is all he does. Eventually one day I may retire in my very old age from doing what I do for a day job, but and then do this full time if I'm crazy. But there you go. Doc, appreciate the $50. Thank you very much for your generosity here. Ron and I both appreciate this from the bottom of our hearts. Let me grab a few more of these. Snarky says for 5, Muriel Bowser needs to change her last name Stat. She embarrasses Nintendo. I agree. Jefferson C. Post for 2. This sounds like Comp Stat all over again. That was a little less than an hour ago. I'm not sure what exactly that was referring to. Oh, there's one I do want you to, if you want to address a little bit, Ron, I'll get to that in a second. Snarky says for 10, thank you for always being so generous, Snarky. I appreciate you, man. I'm confident these sanctuary cities, up to and including Seattle, will get learned by President Trump and the National Guard intervention. Yes, I agree. And in fact, let me see if I still have this one in there. We haven't played this. I should have played this one tonight. Do I even still have this backstage? StreamYard now uses the thumbnails, and it drives me nuts because I can't find anything as easily as I used to for this one. And it drives me bonkers. I don't want to come on. Yeah, that was well, there was that one. There was that one. I can't find it right now. I used to have this great little Trump clip that I loved. And I cannot find it backstage on here. I'm gonna get fired.
I'm not gonna work here anymore anyway.
Yeah. So let's see. Thank you, Snarky. I appreciate the chat. And then we've got, what do you call a socialist Marxist wearing flip-flops, says Snarky. Bernie Sandals. Bernie Sandals. Thank you, Snarky. And oh, hey there, Valiant and Ron. Great to see you, says Ham the Third. Thank you for the $2 super chat. And finally, Puck for $10. My parents immigrated to the U.S. in the 80s. They were so excited to take us to Washington, D.C. That excitement ended when my dad made a wrong turn, and we were horrified to find that D.C. was a dump. She wants Trump to fix it. Y'all heard me tell the story, or I think, I told a bit of it. Matthew Marsden told the whole story. Matthew was going to try to join us tonight. But he found out today that, his wife and some friends had, decided that his house was going to be a place for a big party with a group of people coming in town. So Matthew's going to be joining us soon here because Matthew, of course, has a lot to say about the immigration issue in Britain. Of course, now he lives in Texas, but he is a Brit, true and true. And he's got a lot to say on it. But yeah, he said the same thing when he came down here to New Orleans. Matthew and I went out about a month ago. He was here. I took him out that night in New Orleans. We were out till almost 2 a.m, Ron. And took him around to some place. He walked out the hotel. I didn't know he was there in town yet. And he called me, said, we're on Bourbon Street. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll leave and come meet you. And he said, I am horrified. The first thing, I don't know, Ron, if you heard the story, Matthew, his sister's in town from the UK. Matthew, of course, lives in Dallas, as everybody knows. His sister and her husband are in town from London, and one of their work colleagues, and they booked a hotel on or right off of Bourbon Street. They walk out, and the first thing they see is a homeless woman sitting on the side of the street, relieving herself with her legs in the air and everything exposed. And this would not be somebody who would be working, say, at a high-end strip club. Let me put it that way. So yeah, that was their first impression of our great city of New Orleans.
Too much information.
And I said, I'm sorry, if I'd known that's where you were, I would have told you not to do that. Yeah. But hey, that's Washington, D.C., that's Seattle, that's Portland, Oregon. All these other places out there, these wonderful blue cities that are so lovely. Last thing, Ron, I wanted you to comment on tonight, if you would, good sir, is, there's been a fight for a while. I thought this would be a good topic to kind of wrap up on. Is this situation here? Federal judge blocks Texas public schools from displaying 10 commandments in classrooms. This has been a fight that's been going on for a while, right? And the 10 commandments, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, they've kind of been, they're foundational to American law, to the Constitution, the 10 commandments. Not every act, right? We don't codify in law that there's only one God, but we codify into law things like thou shalt not commit murder, things like this. And
all right, but we don't codify that you shouldn't covet your neighbor's house or his wife,
right?
And we don't codify observe my Sabbaths to keep them holy.
Right.
You don't even codify honor your father and your mother.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's a religious statement. It's a loser. Now, if you want, so I will tell you, if you go into a number of courthouses, you'll see, especially in the old-fashioned courthouses, not so much the newer ones, which tend to be brutalist architecture, but the ones that were built in the New Deal, 20th century, you might frequently see a series of murals or paintings or decorations celebrating different traditional sources of law. And then what they'll inevitably include the 10 commandments. That's okay. Because now you're telling a story. Now you're acknowledging the historic. But if you give a special place to the 10 commandments, which are holy, which are God's word, and say, no, we just want to make an historical point, it's a loser. It's a loser. I don't think the majority of the Supreme, I think even the Fifth Circuit rejected
in New Orleans. Yeah.
Right, rejected a 10 Commandments law. It's such a dumb hill to die on. That's not how we reignite faith in the schools. Just think of what it's going to be sharing space with. Think of the crap that goes on the walls. Think of what they honor. If mom and dad go to church
pride
on
flags,
Sunday,
yeah.
If mom and dad go to church on Sunday and take little Timmy and Mwanda or whatever her name, whatever their name, whatever kind of family you're in, okay?
Mwanda.
The family that prays together stays together.
Yes.
People have to make religious commitment part of their lives in order for their kids to get it. And passing a law, if you're going to pass that law at the same time as you're passing a million other laws, and I understand that Texas is right now being controlled by Republicans, so the laws tend to be more conservative. But
Sure.
this isn't how to do it. It is cultural change from the top down isn't gonna happen. It's a statement that people want to make. Make it at home. I dare you to make it at home, because it's really easy to tell the government to make it for you in the school.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if you make it at home? What happens if you say, the Sabbath is special in this family and we treat it differently from the other days of the week? That's a big ask.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of a big ask, and it's a lot bigger than passing a law about what gets put up in a school. My 2 cents.
That makes sense. And I've always wondered over the years, Ron, the scope of, the rule or the legal scope when it comes to rulings on the establishment clause, as it's been called.
Yeah.
I've always wondered where I look at it as a very strict interpretationalist, right? It says the federal government shall make no laws establishing religion or restricting the free exercise thereof, right? So is putting the 10 Commandments out there as,
is it establishment of religion?
Is it establishment of, I always look at it as that amendment was written, I think, for a very specific reason. Historically, I think it's very easy to point to and say, well, look, the Puritans, they came over here, the Mayflower 14 in the 15th century, landed on Plymouth Rock. They wanted to get away from the persecution, Henry VIII, breaking away from the Catholic Church. They wanted to keep Congress from saying that there is going to be the Church of America, or whatever the case is. And people have tried to, over the years, I think, erroneously stretch this out to literally anything that is remotely pointing at religion. So, for example, in a public school system here where I live, or you live, or anywhere else, and if a teacher wants to say a prayer in the morning, doesn't force the students to participate, but just wants to stand up and even make, for us Catholics, just make the sign of the cross in a classroom. Like, in this day and age, somebody's going to sue that teacher.
Well, no, they're going to. I mean, it's unthinkable. It's impossible in a public school. And there were some really bad decisions. Like in the 1950s, the Supreme Court invented a concept called a wall between church and state.
Yes, the separation of church and state, where that language does not appear anywhere in the Constitution.
It doesn't.
Right?
It was invented. Yeah. It's evil. And what's terrible about it is the entire premise of that ruling was, if I, as a Jewish student, or my child goes to a public school and everyone there and they say a Christian prayer, my Jewish child will be hurt. He will be othered.
Othered.
So there are two problems with that. One of that is the Constitution is not meant to protect anyone from being othered.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the language they would have used in the 50s. But it's not about feelings. It's about religious compulsion. And if you're Jewish and you're seeing other people pray seeing Christian children pray in the classroom, one of two things is going to happen. And there's a third thing that might happen, but it's really unlikely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
One is that the third thing is you can say, oh, I want to be on the winning team. I want to be a Christian.
Yeah.
That really hardly ever happens.
Right.
If it happens, it's not because of school. What's more likely to happen is, oh, I live in a community where people pray to God. Mommy, Daddy, how do we pray to God? I know that that prayer doesn't sound like the God. No, in our family, we pray to God this way.
Yeah.
Okay? This is our belief. That's their belief, but they're the majority of this country, and we should respect that. There's no compulsion there. Now, you should not certainly be allowed to penalize a child for not participating in the prayer.
Agreed. Totally
But
agreed.
the other thing is also that if the child feels a little bit bad, if child feels a little bit othered from a Jewish assimilation point of view, that we consider that to be a good thing, because he should realize, just like October 7th, unfortunately, has made us realize.
Yep.
You might forget you're Jewish, but no one else will.
That's it. Right?
So why don't you reconnect or connect with your tradition and find out how to do it right. In any event, though, we've got a long way to go to rolling that Ten Commandments laws. And by the way, I saw there's some confusion. People have to understand that the court a very, very long time ago interpreted the 14th Amendment as incorporating all the protections of the Constitution that apply only to that would have applied only to the federal government, to the states. Therefore, even though Texas law, actually the Texas Constitution probably has an identical provision in it anyway. Every state constitution guarantees freedom of religion. But even if it didn't, the federal Constitution will still apply to what any unit of government can do with respect to church and state.
Yeah. I think, people have, and I'm not going to go, we don't have to go deep into this conversation tonight. I think we've done enough on it. But I see stories like this, and it always bugs me because I feel like for many, many, many years, there has been this ridiculous misinterpretation or conflation of what is the separation of church and state, right? We're all for the fact in the broad sense of the term to separate these two entities, and that the United States government should not establish a religion or pick a religion, right? But simply having kids say prayers in public school is not an establishment of religion. And this is what's kind of going down the rabbit hole with all this kind of stuff. And people wonder where the water's edge is. I'm gonna grab a couple of super chats, and I have one thing just to kind of throw into this as we wrap up here. And I appreciate everybody joining us again. We've been off for a month here, just about on Renegade Nation. We hope that doesn't happen again. This is going to be a regular Thursday occurrence as far as I'm concerned. But we've got here from Ham the Third about Cracker Barrel. My dad was an antique dealer and sold some of the things they had on the wall to Cracker Barrel. He would point at them and say, I remember that. Sad it won't be the same. Yeah, they've gotten very corporatized. I might talk a little bit more on Sunday.
That is an experience of reality. And we don't have reality anymore. Yeah. That's an amazing thing to say, that even in a national chain, things could be so attached to a real person and a real business and real historical artifacts. And no, that doesn't fit. Everything has to be corporatized.
Yep. It's ugly and crude. Snarky for $5. Renegade Nation. Fuck around and find out with Ron Coleman. We appreciate it. That's how it works.
Coleman, Snarky. The first time I was willing to, if you look, Ron Coleman with no E, that was the actor who lived 100 years ago. Just a far, far better thing I do than I've ever done before. Just a far better end I go to.
And I had to get this one because our buddy Marcus said this. Dear Lord, Valiant, are you drinking red wine from a rocks glass? For shame on you. I am. Let me tell you why. I saw that comment. I'm like, I'll explain it. There is a very good reason. Okay. I had some very lovely wine. I still have some very wonderful wine glasses. I got to the habit years ago, especially after we had kids. What I would use would be the cheap Target stuff, because with kids in the house, they get broken. All the ones I have, the cheap ones, are broken. I won't get the expensive ones out. The reason is because with 3 dogs, and most of them have tails that are like batons, like nightsticks that police use. I'll put it down on the coffee table, and the dogs will walk up, "Daddy, daddy, daddy," and the tails will wag. I have lost, I'm not joking, I guarantee you probably at least a dozen wine glasses to dog tails going by the coffee table and swatting them at the stem and going flying. So the cocktail glasses with the heavy base don't have that problem. That's why. So great, fun question. Last thing I want to bring up to the religious thing, and we're going to close with this. I want to remind people that have any question about the history of this country and this whole, as Ron was talking about, the Establishment Clause, the invented language. I do this every Thanksgiving, just like Limbaugh did, because I thought it really sings it home. This is President George Washington's Thanksgiving Day proclamation. And I want to call to attention everybody here the date of this proclamation. The 3rd of October, 1789. Let me ask you folks out there in the chat. I know Ron knows the answer to this. Do you know what happened? What document was finally ratified after 2 years of circulating through the 13 colonies? Just 3 weeks, actually 2 weeks before this proclamation was made? Go ahead, chat. I'll give you a minute. Type it in. Type it in. It included not only the original document that was drafted by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, but also 10 things that they tacked on. Okay? It was the Constitution. All right? The United States Constitution was ratified September, was it 17th, 1789, I believe. It's right around my birth. My birthday's on September 19th. I'm right around the ratification of the Constitution. 2 weeks after this, President George Washington issued this statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing because we don't need to. October 3rd, 1789, by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation where it is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey his will and be grateful for his benefits, and humbly to implore his protection and favor. That's how he opened the proclamation of Thanksgiving. If there's any doubt, okay, about this, is less than 2 weeks after 13 colonies that formed the United States of America ratified the United States Constitution, including the First Amendment, including the establishment of the freedom of exercise of religion and the prevention of Congress from engaging in the establishment of religion. George Washington goes to bat 2 weeks later with this speech, and that's how he opens it. If there's any doubt out there about
Valiant, I'm really glad you brought this to my attention. I can't remember the last time I looked at this. I'm gonna put this into my bag of tricks. It's a great piece,
isn't it? I mean, I've been using this for years. Every time somebody brings this up, and we had the occasion tonight to, I mean, I've talked about this when I love doing the Rush Limbaugh Thanksgiving thing, reading William Bradford's journal. If you go to William Bradford's journal, the first governor of the colonies, the first Thanksgiving was, we are going to give thanks to Almighty God, for the bounty that we have this year. Thanksgiving it's only an American holiday. It's exclusively American. And people forget that Thanksgiving, even back before the ratification and 2 weeks after the ratification of the Constitution, was an expressly religious American holiday, giving thanks to God, the Judeo-Christian
I wrote
God.
a blog post like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If you say Thanksgiving, but
Yeah.
there's no object of
Mhm.
thanks, to be merely generically thankful, but not to
Right.
acknowledge the source is meaningless.
Yeah, it really is. And I love this. So anyway, all right. We've got to get rolling here. Thank you everybody out there for joining us. One last chat here from Andrew from Snarky says for $10, cheers to the Kona that you were drinking a while back. My favorite. I'm drinking it now. I've got to get some more Konas. It's still very summery down here in Louisiana, and I love the Kona beer for this time of year. It's a great, super light blonde Hawaiian beer for that. Ron, thank you for being here and guest hosting with us. Any final thoughts before we check out?
No, I just hope that we get to do this regularly, and we build up the fantastic community that you have built around you already. And you and I have a lot of fun together, and it's great to have our friends join us. And I thank those of you who have come in for all or part of it, and hope we'll do so again soon.
Yes, indeed. And Jonas, good to see you, my man. Yeah, he says, check out the Thanksgiving video on the main Valiant Renegade channel. It's one of the best videos I've ever had the pleasure of working on. And that was the one we did last year. In fact, Jonas, I'll dig it up. But if you go over there, I think it's actually got Rush Limbaugh's picture on it from the studio that we did. We did the reading of the William Bradford stuff and talked about the real story of Thanksgiving. I love that. It's one of my favorite things. I listened to Rush Limbaugh do that every year since I was probably 13, 14 years old, back in the early 90s. I love it. And I have his books that he wrote for kids back up on the shelf. I read them to my kids when they were little, and all that. So anyway, thank you guys very much. We'll be back here next week, and we'll see you on Sunday on the main channel out there. We got a lot to discuss. And look, everybody's been tagging me in the Variety article today about Disney and their shopping for new boy brands. Trust me, I saw it. We're going to get to it. I am going to lose my shit on Sunday when we do that article. I'm just telling you now, because it everything I've been telling you for 5 years on YouTube. Once again, hashtag Renegade was right. Told you. It's coming. All right. Here we go. We got to get out of here. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you next time. Take care.